Welcome to episode 8 of Nudges and Bridges. This session is going to be devoted to what I call the view from the blimp. So before we get into why I'm calling it the view from the blimp, let's make sure that we know where we are in terms of the stages or the levels of development that we're talking about with Nudges and Bridges. First of all, there was the us versus them. Then the next step was an appreciation of rules or structure. The third was a sense of friendship, or I'll be there for you. The last one was as good as it gets, where one has a sense of joy in the particular moment that you are in. And the next one is the view from the blimp. Now, the basic idea is that if one is in the blimp, you all know what a blimp is. You know, if you look at a sporting event, particularly if it doesn't have a roof on it, if it doesn't have a roof on the sporting, or if it has a roof on the sporting event, it doesn't help you very much. But if it's an open air sports arena, oftentimes there is a dirigible up in the air that is filming the action. And the dirigible, or the blimp, is looking down on the stadium, and it sees or provides a picture of what is going on. And you can look down, you can see the players on the field. But from the perspective of the blimp, you're looking down, seeing the players on the field. But if you turn your head just a little bit, you see the business, the government, the church, another charity, the neighborhood, maybe another sporting event. And so with just a little bit of a turn of the head, you can see that the things that are being demonstrated on the field, sportsmanship, never say die, teamwork, resiliency, discipline, all kinds of good virtuous things that are going on the field are applicable when you turn your head on those other institutions as well, the business, the government, the church, the neighborhood. And so by being separated, taking a step back from, or being in the air above from the actual action, you can see how the principles and rules apply to other areas as well. It gives you a sense of perspective, a sense of meaning, a sense of seeing the importance of these rules and the extent to which they may have applications beyond the particular thing that you were looking at, in this case, a sporting event. So let me give you some examples of the way in which cultural artifacts can provide a perspective of what's going on in life. The first one, I'm going to refer to the TED Talk that I gave to about a year ago, the TED Talk in the dog park, where I gave a TED Talk out in the dog park because of COVID. I think that I've mentioned it in the past. The TED Talk people realized that not every TED Talk was going to be in a filled auditorium where you could get sick. And so they provided some additional freedom to be able to do your TED Talk elsewhere. And so I did it in a dog park, and it was about dogs. And the way that I started that presentation is that when the dogs go to the dog park, they're very excited. They get to go on a car ride. They're very happy to be with the members of their pack or their family, and they're all raring to go. They get out of the car and they are going to meet other dogs who are also excited because they just got a car ride and they are going with their pack in order to go to the dog park. And if the dogs just remain in an excited state, or worse, if they are in a territorial, defensive, protective state of mind, things can go wrong. You can have a bite, a snap, a fight. But if the dogs take a little bit of time to get to know each other by sniffing each other's butts, frankly, if they get a chance to know each other a little bit, then they realize that they have found a new friend, and they can go off and romp and have a great time with kind of a new sense of a friendship, almost building a new kind of a pack without abandoning their old pack. Their family is still their family. Their pack is still their pack, but they have a new one as well. This is a sense of perspective. By looking at the way that the dogs are interacting with each other and taking the time to get to know each other, teaches us a lesson that if human beings would stop being so antipodal to each other and take the time to get to know each other, like through cultural artifacts, they may find that they have something common that they can build a friendship and a relationship and a bit of a pack with. So that is an example of a perspective that provides the wisdom to be able to see how what you are experiencing or portraying right in front of you, the dogs in the dog park, have application in other areas of life that you can learn from. Another example is another really big cultural artifact, and that's religion. I mean, all religions are providing a sense of perspective. What does this mean? What does my life mean? What does this event mean? And it tries to provide a perspective or a meaning making within the context of the particular tradition. And it really doesn't matter which tradition that it is. They all provide a sense of perspective of what this means. Or here's the third example where you're not necessarily standing back from something, but you're actually in the middle of a cultural artifact. And in doing so, you recognize that there is something that you learn in that moment or in that event or in that cultural artifact that is applicable to other areas of life, which is the main point here. So when I was in high school, I played football. I was always the smallest guy on the field, usually by a long way. Recently, I got a very nice award from the academic academy that I'm a part of. It's called the Distinguished Career Faculty Award for what I've done over the last 37 years or so. And an article about what I had done appeared in the local paper from where I grew up. I grew up in a town of 800 people, a very rural area. I've been gone for a long time, and a lot of people I lost track of who this guy was, or whatever happened to Tim Ford. And so the article went back and was published. And my old football coach, who I liked a lot, but I've kind of lost track with over the years, is about 80 years old now, saw the article and wrote me this lovely, lovely note of congratulations. And so I wrote back. And one of the things that I wrote back to him was how formative playing football for him was. And one of the examples I said, I still think about the games, even 45 years later. I still think of it. And one in particular, that the play of my life was when we were ahead by one touchdown, and we were being challenged by the opposing team during our homecoming game. And I was the captain of the team, and I was looking to make a play because things weren't going so well for us. And I jumped a pass pattern, intercepted in the end zone, ran 101 yards for the touchdown that just kind of broke the game wide open. But I also remember in our last game, the state playoff game, that I had a similar kind of an opportunity where against the opposing team, where I had the same kind of opportunity to jump the route. And it wouldn't have been 101 yards, but it would have been about an 80-yard touchdown, interception. But I didn't do it. I batted the ball down, but I didn't jump on the route in order to intercept the pass and run with it. And I've thought about that difference for decades. And the difference was that in the first instance, I was saying to myself, we need to make a play. I need to make a play. And I was looking to make a play. And I told that to my coach, my former coach. But then I said, with the other one, we were kind of back on our heels, and I was a little bit hesitant. And so I made a play. I knocked the ball down, but I didn't make the play because I wasn't looking to make the difference. I was reactive as opposed to looking to make the play. And I've thought of that, like I said, for 45 years, of the difference of when I'm in a tense situation, I remind myself, this is like the game, this is like the homecoming game. Look to make the play, Tim, as opposed to just being reactive and wondering what was going to happen next, or I wouldn't make the play that I really needed to make. That's an example within the game itself, not above the blimp, but to take a perspective from a cultural artifact and make it applicable to other ways of life. So those are three examples from the dog park, from religion, from actually playing a game, in which a cultural artifact can be something where you see what is happening. And by taking a little bit of perspective, you're able to apply what you have learned to other ways of life. So that's the next stage. It's stage 5 in our 7 stages here of, again, we start off with us versus them, then the perspective of rules, friendship, as good as it gets, and now the view from the blimp. Thanks for listening.